In the last video, we saw how the exec command works in a very simple way. Actually, it's not the way that we're going to use it, but it helps us understand certain behaviors of exec. So we saw that exec will kill the shell that we're currently executing in. So that doesn't happen exactly like that in shell scripts. It's a little bit different, but you want to keep in mind exec, if you ran it right at the command prompt. In this case, what we did was we had bash, we started a new shell, we couldn't run tcsh, so we ran just plain sh, which is actually dash, I believe. And so we ran a new shell, ran exec, which killed the new shell, went back to the old shell, and then we were left with this situation. Okay, so that was what we did in the past, so you might want to review that. Because now we will look at what we are really going to use exec for. So exec is going to be used really within scripts for file I/O. So normally bash allows up to 10 open file descriptors. 3 of them are the ones that we already use. That's standard in for keyboard, standard out for the terminal, that's the output, and standard error, which is also the output of the terminal, but it's separate. It's actually a separate quote-unquote stream. So these are 3 different streams that are open, and then you have 7 more for files. Normally, bash reads the user's commands from standard in and executes them. Using input redirection, we can read commands from a file. So for example, let's say we have a file called commands, which contains 3 lines. Each of these is a command. And if you were to run something like this, exec less than this file, which has the 3 commands, it'll execute all the commands in the file. So let's take a quick look at that. So I'm going to create the file. I haven't created that. And I'm going to have ls who and ps. Let's see. I'm going to hit Control D. So here's that file. I can cat it cmnds, and here's how you would run all of the commands in that. And of course, what happens is that all the commands get executed, but then it kills the shell, just like before. So let me open up a new shell, have it display everything properly. Okay, so here we are back. I just have to resize this because it's a little bit bigger than what you can see. So just bear with me for a second. It's really hard to do, apparently. All right. I hope you can see all of that. Okay, so once again, as with executing a single command, if you say exec less than and then a file that has a whole bunch of commands, if you execute it right at the command prompt, what happens is it actually does execute this, but then it replaces the current shell. And so because of that, terminal disappears. Okay, so that does not happen when you use it inside a script, however. It works a little differently. So the whole reason for using exec really is for I/O redirection. Using output redirection, it allows you to write the output of bash, for example, or a script to a file. So all we have to do is say exec greater than, so this is like output redirection, well, it is output redirection, exec file, and then what happens is that it makes the shell work just as before, except all of the standard output goes to this file called file. Let's try that. And keep in mind, you might want to, if you're doing this, keep in mind that you have to sort of reset the output to go to, in this case, the console by doing this. Exec greater than /dev/tty to restore the output. So let's take a look at that. Take a look at what files we have. Alright, so we will do exec greater than, and we'll let's call it output. In this case, you don't have to worry, the shell won't disappear, it'll stay there, but something else is happening. If you were to say ls now, no output. pwd, nothing. Who am I? Nothing. So it turns out what's happening is all of the output of these commands are going to this file. How can we see that? Can we cat it? No, we can't, because if you try to cat it, guess where the output goes? To this file. Okay, so then what can we do? Well, remember I told you that you have to redirect the output to the terminal. You can do that. Exec greater than /dev/tty, and now when you say ls, everything works just like before. So what did we do? We just said, okay, from now on all of the output has to go to this file. So we can type in commands, the shell doesn't disappear, you can type in commands and then redirect the output back to the terminal, and after that everything works just like before. Now we can cat the output file and see the output of those commands that we typed in, which were what? ls, pwd, and who am I. So here's ls, pwd, and who am I. Okay. So I don't need that. And so let's keep going. So try that out. That's the best way to figure out these things. This is pretty safe. It doesn't kill your shell. But remember, you won't see any output anymore because all of the output will go to whatever file you named here. You have to use this command to restore the output. Okay, so we're not going to go over every single one of these there, but there's many different ways to use exec and IO redirection. Input redirection, output redirection, append, input for the nth file, and remember that you can use up to 10, and output redirection of up to 10 files. You can have various tags, and we're not going to have time to go over these things, but everything between this tag and this tag will be redirected into this file, and so on. You can also close certain files, and we will do this later. So this is for standard in, but also you can do it for the nth file. So a lot of things that you can do. Unfortunately, and the best way to learn about them is to actually just try it out. We'll do a few of them. Okay, so here if you say exec less than sample, this is what we did before. What happened was, in our case, we said exec less than commands, and we should have done it with another shell. We should have started inside bash. You can always start another bash. Let's just do that. So remember we had this cmnds, which had 3 commands, and here if we say bash, all we're doing is running bash inside a bash, and now the prompt has changed. So I'm going to change the prompt so that it's a little bit easier to read. ps1 equals, and I'm just going to say command number. That might help understand what this is doing. Okay, so this is command 173. Okay, so here now I can say exec and read in from this file commands. Okay, this time around you might think, well, this is going to kill the shell, but yeah, but we have a shell inside a shell, and so what happens is we kill this shell, we go back to the old shell. You can see that exit, even though it's not in commands. We cat cmnds, there's ls, there's ls, there's a who command, there's who, lists all the users, that's just you. Then it executes the ps command, and then what happens is you get the exit implicitly. It's not in the file, but it's there, it's executed because you use exec. Okay. So this is a pictorial description of that. You were in a shell, we said exec, and read a list of commands from a file that killed or exited this shell, and we went back to the old shell. So try this out. It'll make sense. If not, definitely ask me. Okay, so let's take a break here and we'll start a new video.